Thank you for choosing American Pest CEUs. Hi, I'm Sean Reeves. I'm an Associate Certified Entomologist with American Pest CEUs. I've been in the pest management industry since 1999, and I'll be your instructor for today's course. Today's course was compiled by Jack Launius, who has served in the pest management industry since 1990. Today's course is on Texas structural pest control laws. Section 1951.002 Definitions. In this chapter, 1. Apartment building means a building that contains at least 2 dwelling units that are rented primarily for non-transient, permanent dwelling purposes, with rental paid by intervals of 1 week or longer. 2. Repealed by Acts 2007, 80th, Leg, R. S. Chapter 890, Section Point 1.791, effective September 1st, 2007. 3. Certified applicator means a certified commercial applicator or a certified non-commercial applicator. 4. Certified commercial applicator means a person who holds a certified commercial applicator's license. 5. Certified non-commercial applicator means a person who holds a certified non-commercial applicator's license. 5A. Commissioner means the Commissioner of Agriculture. 5B. Committee means the Structural Pest Control Advisory Committee. 6. Daycare Center has the meaning assigned by Section 42.002 Human Resources Code. 6A. Department means the Department of Agriculture. 7. Device means an instrument or contrivance that is designed for trapping, destroying, repelling, or mitigating the effects of a pest or another form of plant or animal life other than human beings or bacteria, viruses, or other microorganisms that live on or in human beings or animals. The term does not include A firearm, or B, equipment used for the applications of pesticides that is sold separately from a device. 8. Hospital has the meaning assigned by Section 241.003 Health and Safety Code. 9. Institution of higher education has the meaning assigned by Section 61.003 Education Code. 10. Nursing home means an institution as the term is defined by Section 2.10. Nursing home means an institution as the term is defined by Section 242.002 Health and Safety Code. 11. Person means an individual, firm, partnership, corporation, association, or other organization, any combination of those persons, or any type of business entity. 12. Restricted use pesticide means a pesticide classified for restricted or limited use by the administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. 13. School means a public, primary, or secondary school, or B, private or parochial, primary, or secondary school that is accredited by an accreditation body that is a member of the Texas Private School Accreditation Commission. 14. State limited use pesticide means a pesticide classified for restricted or limited use by the Commissioner. 15. Structural Pest Control Business License means a license issued under Section 1951.301. 16. Technician means a person who holds a license under this chapter and who, under direct supervision of a certified non-commercial applicator or as an employee of a holder of a structural pest control business license, performs supervised pesticide applications, maintains or uses structural pest control devices, makes sales presentations, or identifies pest infestation or damage. The term does not include a person whose duties are solely clerical or are otherwise completely disassociated with pest control. Section 1951.0021 Structural Pest Control Service. The Structural Pest Control Service is a service of the department responsible for the regulation and licensing of persons engaged in the business of structural pest control. The service is established to provide exceptional customer service to the public and the industry, enhance the educational and professional standards of license holders, and ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Section 1951.003 Business of Structural Pest Control. A. In this chapter, a person is engaged in the business of structural pest control if the person performs, offers to perform, or advertises for, or solicits the person's performance of any of the following services for compensation, including services performed as part of the person's employment. 1. Identifying infestations or making inspections for the purpose of identifying or attempting to identify infestations of A. Arthropods, including insects, spiders, mites, ticks, and related pests, wood-infesting organisms, rodents, weeds, nuisance birds, and any other obnoxious or undesirable animals that may infest households, railroad cars, ships, docks, trucks, airplanes, or other structures or their contents, or B. Pests or diseases of trees, shrubs, or other plantings in a park or adjacent to a residence, business establishment, industrial plant, institutional building, or street. 2. Making oral or written inspection reports, recommendations, estimates, or bids with respect to an infestation described by Subdivision 1, or 3. Making contracts or submitting bids based on an inspection for services or performing services designed to prevent, control, or eliminate an infestation described by Subdivision 1 by the use of insecticides, pesticides, rodenticides, fumigants, allied chemicals or substances, or mechanical devices. B. A person is not engaged in the business of structural pest control if the person is a clerical employee or a manual laborer and the person does not 1. Identify pests, 2. Make inspections, recommendations, estimates, bids, or contracts, 3. Provide estimates, bids, or contracts based on an inspection, or 4. Apply insecticides, pesticides, rodenticides, fumigants, allied chemicals, or other related substances regulated by the department. Section 1951.004 Direct Supervision. In this chapter, a pesticide is applied under direct supervision if the application is made by a person acting under the instructions and control of a certified commercial applicator, responsible for the actions of the person and available if needed for consultation or assistance. The certified commercial applicator is not required to be physically present at the time and place of the pesticide application. Section 1951.005 Local Regulation of Pesticide Sale or Use. A. Except as provided by this section, a municipality or other political subdivision of this state may not adopt an ordinance or rule regarding pesticide sale or use. B. This section does not limit the authority of a municipality or county to 1. Encourage locally approved and provided educational material concerning a pesticide. 2. Zone for the sale or storage of pesticide products. 3. Adopt fire or building regulations, including regulations governing the storage of pesticide products or governing fumigation and thermal insecticidal fogging operations as preventative measures to protect the public and emergency services personnel from an accident or emergency involving pesticide products. 4. Provide or designate sites for the disposal of pesticide products. 5. Route hazardous materials. Or 6. Regulate discharge to sanitary sewer systems. C. A municipality or other political subdivision may take any action otherwise prohibited by this section to 1. Comply with any federal or state requirements. 2. Avoid a federal or state penalty or fine. Or 3. Attain or maintain compliance with federal or state environmental standards, including state water quality standards. D. This section does not affect Subchapter G, Chapter 76, Agriculture Code. Section 1951.006 Applicability of fees to government employees. A person employed by a governmental entity is not exempt from a fee imposed under this chapter. Section 1951.007 Applicability of Agriculture Code licensing provisions. A provision of the Agriculture Code that applies generally to licensing or regulatory programs administered by the department, including a provision that refers generally to licensing or regulatory programs under the Agriculture Code, applies to this chapter. Section 1951.051 Individual performing pest control work on owned or employer's premises. A. An individual who does not hold a license under this chapter may use insecticides, pesticides, rodenticides, fumigants, or allied chemicals or substances or mechanical devices designed to prevent, control, or eliminate pest infestations unless 1. That use is prohibited by state law or rule. 2. That use is prohibited by rule of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Or 3. The substance used is labeled as a restricted use pesticide or a state limited use pesticide. B. An individual may act under subsection A only on premises 1. Owned by the individual. 2. In which the individual owns a partnership or joint venture interest. Or 3. Of a person who employs the individual primarily to perform services other than pest control. C. Subsection B. 3 does not apply to 1. An apartment building. 2. A daycare center. 3. A hospital. 4. A nursing home. 5. A hotel, motel, or lodge. 6. A warehouse. 7. A food processing establishment. 8. A facility owned by the state or a political subdivision of the state, except as provided by section 1951.303 B1, or 9. A school. Section 1951.052. Person performing pest control work on person's dwelling. A. Except as provided by sections 1951.212 and 1951.457C, this chapter does not apply to a person who performs pest control work on property that the person owns or leases as the person's dwelling. B. A person described by subsection A is not considered to be engaged in the business of structural pest control. Section 1951.053. Person performing pest control work otherwise regulated by the department. A. Except as provided by sections 1951.212 and 1951.457C. This chapter does not apply to 1. A person who performs pest control work on growing plants, trees, shrubs, grass, or other horticultural plants if the person holds a commercial or non-commercial applicator license from the department issued under Chapter 76 Agriculture Code that covers the pest control work, or is under the direct supervision of a person who holds a commercial or non-commercial applicator license from the department and is issued under Chapter 76 Agriculture Code that covers pest control work, or 2. A person who performs pest control work on growing plants, trees, shrubs, grass, or other horticultural plants or rights of way if the person A. is employed by a political subdivision or a cemetery, B. is engaged in pest control work or vegetation management for the political subdivision or cemetery, C. holds a commercial or non-commercial applicator license from the department and issued under Chapter 76 Agriculture Code that covers pest control work, or is under the direct supervision of a person who holds a commercial or non-commercial applicator license from the department and issued under Chapter 76 Agriculture Code that covers pest control work, and D. complies with annual continuing education required by the department. B. A person described by subsection A is not considered to be engaged in the business of structural pest control. C. Neither this section nor any other law shall prohibit a political subdivision from reducing the number of hours of training or other requirements for an employee conducting larval mosquito control on property owned or controlled by the political subdivision using biological pesticides approved for general use by the Department of State Health Services, provided the employee is given instructions adequate to ensure the safe and effective use of such pesticides. Section 1951.054. Person performing pest control work on agricultural land. A. Except as provided by sections 1951.212 and 1951.457C. This chapter does not apply to a person or the person's employee who is engaged in the business of agriculture, or aerial application or custom application of pesticides to agricultural lands. A person described by subsection A is not considered to be engaged in the business of structural pest control. Section 1951.055. Person using pest control chemicals for household use. A. Except as provided by sections 1951.212 and 1951.457. This chapter does not apply to a person who uses pest control chemicals that are for household use and are available for purchase in retail food stores, such as aerosol bombs and spray cans, if the insecticide is used in accordance with the label directions on the insecticide or with the department rules or guidelines, or as provided by Section 1951.303, and is used by the owner of a building or the owner's employee or agent in an area occupied by the owner in a residential building, or used in a place that is vacant, unused, and unoccupied. A person described by subsection A is not considered to be engaged in the business of structural pest control. Section 1951.056 Beekeepers. A. Except as provided by sections 1951.212 and 1951.457C. This chapter does not apply to a person acting as a beekeeper as identified by section 131.001 Agriculture Code, who is registered with the Chief Apiary Instructor as provided by Subchapter C, Chapter 131 Agriculture Code, does not use pesticides or electrical devices other than conventional bee smokers or equipment as defined by Section 131.001 Agriculture Code, and collects, removes, or destroys honeybees. A person described by subsection A is not considered to be engaged in the business of structural pest control. Section 1951.057 Falconers. A. This chapter does not apply to a person engaged in falconry as defined by Section 49.001 Parks and Wildlife Code, who is the holder of a falconer's permit as provided by Chapter 49 Parks and Wildlife Code, and uses a raptor to control or relocate other birds. Section 1951.058 Activities not involving pesticides. When performed without the use of a pesticide, this chapter does not apply to the use of a raptor to control or relocate other birds, physical removal of pest or the habitat of pest while cleaning a chimney, use of a live trap to remove an animal from the premises of a residence, agricultural operation or business structure, removal by mechanical means of weeds or other obstructing vegetation from a sewer, drainage system, body of water, or similar area, or installation, maintenance, or use of a non-pesticidal barrier to remove or prevent infestation by nuisance animals. Section 1951.059 Activities involving minimal risk of harm. The department by rule may exempt an activity from all or part of the requirements of this chapter, other than a requirement under Section 1951.212, if the department determines that the activity presents only a minimal risk of harm to the health, safety, and welfare of the public, the person performing the activity, pets, and other domesticated animals, and the environment. A business that performs an activity exempted from regulation under this section and that is not otherwise required to hold a license issued under this chapter shall provide to each customer a written notice, as prescribed by department rule, that informs the customer of the customer's rights under the Deceptive Trade Practices Consumer Protection Act, Subchapter E, Chapter 17, Business and Commerce Code, provides contact information for the Consumer Protection Division of the Office of the Attorney General and contains other information required by the Department. Failure to provide the notice required by subsection B is a violation of this chapter. The Department may impose an administrative penalty or take any other enforcement action provided by this chapter or the Agriculture Code to deter, restrain, or punish a person who violates this section. An enforcement action by the Department under this section is in addition to remedies and penalties provided by the Deceptive Trade Practices Consumer Protection Act, Subchapter E, Chapter 17, Business and Commerce Code. Subchapter C, Structural Pest Control Advisory Committee. Section 1951.101, Committee Membership. The committee consists of 11 members appointed by the Commissioner as follows. One member who is an employee of a school district and associated with a school integrated pest management program. 3 members who represent the public. 1 member from an institution of higher education who is knowledgeable in the science of pest and pest control. 3 members who represent the interests of structural pest control operators and who are appointed based on recommendations provided by a trade association of operators. Also, 1 member who represents the interest of consumers, the Commissioner of the State Health Services or the Commissioner's designee, and 1 member who is a structural pest control operator with experience in natural, organic, or holistic pest control. Members of the committee serve staggered 4-year terms. The terms of 5 or 6 members, as appropriate, expire on February 1st of each odd-numbered year. Service on the committee by a state officer or an employee is an additional duty of the member's office or employment. Appointments to the committee shall be made without regard to the race, color, disability, sex, religion, age, or national origin of the appointee. Section 1951.102, Eligibility of Public Members. A person is not eligible for appointment as a public member of the committee if the person is licensed under this chapter, or the person or the person's spouse is registered, certified, or licensed by an occupational regulatory agency in the field of pest control, is employed by or participates in the management of a business entity or other organization regulated by the department or receiving funds from the department, owns or controls, continued, directly or indirectly, more than a 10% interest in a business entity or other organization regulated by the department or receiving funds from the department, or uses or receives a substantial amount of tangible goods, services, or funds from the department, other than compensation or reimbursement authorized by law for committee membership, attendance, or expenses. Section 1951.103, Membership Restrictions. A. In this section, Texas Trade Association means a cooperative and voluntarily joined statewide association of business or professional competitors in this state designed to assist its members and its industry or profession in dealing with mutual business or professional problems and in promoting their common interest. A person may not be a member of the committee if the person is an officer, employee, or paid consultant of a Texas trade association in the field of pest control, except as provided by Section 1951.101A4, or the person's spouse is an officer, manager, or paid consultant of a Texas trade association in the field of pest control. A person may not be a member of the committee if the person is registered as a lobbyist under Chapter 305 Government Code because of the person's activities for compensation on behalf of a professional related to the operation of the department. Section 1951.104 Duties of the Committee. A. The committee gather and provide information relating to the practice of structural pest control at the request of the department or the commissioner, and advise the department and the commissioner on the education and curricula requirements for applicants, chapter, the content of examinations under this proposed rules and standards on technical issues related to structural pest control, and rules related to enforcement, standards, and criteria for the issuance of licenses under this chapter. Fees for license applications and examinations under this chapter, and other issues affecting the practice of structural pest control. Before the department proposes a rule for adoption, the department must submit the proposed rule to the committee to provide advice as described by subsection A to C. The committee shall vote on whether to recommend that the rule be proposed for adoption and provide the recommendation under subdivision 1 to the department not later than the 60th day after the date the proposed rule was submitted to the committee for review. For the purpose of advising the department on rules related to enforcement under subsection A, on request of the presiding officer of the committee, the department shall allow the committee to review a completed disciplinary investigation file. Section 1951.105 Rules governing committee meetings. A. The department shall adopt rules for the operation of the committee, including rules governing 1. The purpose, role, responsibility, and goals of the committee. 2. The quorum requirements of the committee. 3. The qualifications required for members of the committee, which may include experience and geographic representation requirements. 4. The appointment process for the committee. 5. The members' terms. 6. The training requirements. 7. A process to regularly evaluate the effectiveness of the committee. And 8. A requirement that the committee comply with Chapter 551 Government Code. B. The committee shall 1. At the first meeting of each year, elect the committee's members, a presiding officer, and an assistant presiding officer to serve a term of 1 year. 2. Meet quarterly. 3. Operate under Robert's Rule of Order. And 4. Record the minutes of each meeting. C. The rules adopted under subsection A must provide that the presiding officer of the committee 1. Is responsible for setting an agenda for each committee meeting, and 2. May add an item to an agenda on request by the department or commissioner. Subchapter E. Powers and duties of the department relating to structural pest control. Section 1951.201 Sole Licensing Authority and Fees. A. The Department is the sole authority in this state for licensing persons engaged in the business of structural pest control. B. The Department, with the advice of the Committee, shall establish fees under this chapter in amounts reasonable and necessary to cover the costs of administering the Department's programs and activities under this chapter. Section 1951.203 Standards and Criteria for Licenses. The Department, with the advice of the Committee, shall develop standards and criteria for issuing 1. A structural pest control business license to a person engaged in the business of structural pest control. 2. A certified commercial applicator's license to an individual engaged in the business of structural pest control. 3. A certified non-commercial applicator's license to an individual. And 4. A technician license to an individual. Section 1951.204 Subpoena Authority. A. As part of an investigation under this chapter, the Commissioner may request and, if necessary, compel by subpoena 1. The attendance of witnesses for examination under oath, and 2. The production for inspection and copying of records, documents, and other evidence relevant to the investigation of an alleged violation of this chapter. B. The Commissioner, acting through the Attorney General, may bring an action to enforce a subpoena issued under subsection. Subpoena Authority. A. Against a person who fails to comply with the subpoena. C. Venue for an action brought under subsection B is in a district court in 1. Travis County, or 2. The county in which the alleged violation occurred. D. The court shall order compliance with the subpoena if the court finds that good cause exists to issue the subpoena. Section 1951.205 Environmental Rules. A. The Department, with the advice of the Committee, shall adopt rules as authorized under this chapter governing the methods and practices of structural pest control that the Department determines are necessary to protect the public's health and welfare and prevent adverse effects on human life and the environment. Each rule adopted must cite the section of this chapter that authorizes the rule. B. A rule relating to the use of economic poisons must comply with applicable standards of the federal government and the Commissioner governing the use of such substances. Section 1951.206 Rules restricting advertising or competitive bidding. A. As provided by subsection B, the Department may not adopt a rule restricting advertising or competitive bidding by a person subject to regulation by the Department under this chapter. B. The Department may adopt rules restricting advertising or competitive bidding to prohibit false, misleading, or deceptive practices by a person subject to regulation by the Department under this chapter. A rule adopted under this subsection may not 1. Restrict the use of any medium for advertising. 2. Restrict a person's personal appearance or use of a person's voice in an advertisement. 3. Relate to the size or duration of an advertisement by a person. Or 4. Restrict a person's advertisement under a trade name. C. Subsection B, 4, does not prohibit the department from adopting a rule regulating the use of the name of a business or license holder in an advertisement for a structural pest control business. Section 1951.207, Inspection of License Holders. A. The department by rule shall adopt a policy that requires a business holding a structural pest control business license to be inspected by a field inspector at least once, 1. in the business's first year of operation, and 2. every 4 years after the first year of operation. B. The department by rule shall adopt a policy and guidelines for conducting an investigation under this chapter, including 1. Procedures for investigating a complaint concerning misuse of pesticides, including contamination by pesticides and human exposure to pesticides. 2. The circumstances in which a case should be referred to the or agency A. Department of State Health Services, B. Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, C. United States Environmental Protection, 3. Recommendations to consumers and applicators regarding cleanup after a spill or misapplication, and 4. Procedures for residue sampling, including the circumstances in which to take residue sample and the time in which the sample should be taken. Section 1951.208, Misapplication of Pesticides. A. If an investigation shows that a misapplication of pesticides has occurred on the premises of a consumer, the department shall immediately notify the consumer and the applicator of the misapplication. B. On a finding of misapplication, the department shall keep records of health injuries and property damages resulting from the misapplication reported to the department by a 1. Certified applicator, 2. Physician. On a finding of misapplication, the department shall keep records of health injuries and property damages resulting from the misapplication reported to the department by a 3. Person holding a structural pest control business license, 4. Technician, 5. Consumer, or 6. State agency. Section 1951.209, Availability of certain information. The department may make available to the Department of State Health Services under the Occupational Condition Reporting Program established under Chapter 84, Health and Safety Code, any information the department receives concerning an exposure to a pesticide caused by a person licensed under this chapter that results in a medically verifiable illness. Availability of certain information. The Department and Executive Commissioner of the Health and Human Services Commission shall adopt joint rules for making that information available to the Department of State Health Services. The rules must require the Department to make that information available to an institution of higher education that conducts research in urban entomology, epidemiology, or other areas related to structural pest control. Section 1951.210, Pre-treatment inspection. Service, fees, liability. A. The department may provide a pre-treatment inspection services to consumers. A pre-treatment inspection is limited to a determination of whether there is an infestation of pests on the premises inspected. B. On the request of a consumer, the department may make available an inspector employed by the department to inspect the premises of the consumer if the consumer has obtained from at least 2 pest control companies 1. A determination that there is an infestation of pests on the premises, and 2. An estimate of the cost of treatment. C. The department shall charge a fee for a pre-treatment inspection in an amount sufficient to pay the cost of providing the service. D. The department is not liable for any damages that may arise as a result of an inspection made under this section that is subsequently found to be incorrect. Section 1951.211 Consultation with Integrated Pest Management. Techniques expert. The department may contact. Techniques expert. The department may contract with an institution of higher education for the services of an expert in integrated pest management to consult with the department, department staff, license holders, and the public regarding integrated pest management techniques. Section 1951.212 Integrated Pest Management Programs for School Districts. A. The department shall establish standards for an integrated pest management program for the use of pesticides, herbicides, and other chemical agents to control pests, rodents, insects, and weeds at the school buildings and other facilities of school districts. Integrated Pest Management Programs for School Districts. C. The department shall include in standards adopted under this section a requirement to use the least toxic methods available to control pests, rodents, insects, and weeds. D. The department by rule shall establish categories of pesticides that a school district is allowed to apply. For each category, the department shall specify 1. The minimum distance a school district must maintain between an area where pesticides are being applied and an area where students are present at the time of application. 2. The minimum amount of time a school district is required to wait before allowing students to enter an indoor or outdoor area in a school building or on school grounds for normal academic instruction or organized extracurricular activities after pesticides have been applied. 3. The requirements for posting notice of the indoor and outdoor use of pesticides. 4. The requirements for obtaining approval before applying the pesticide. And 5. The requirements for maintaining records of the application of pesticides. E. Each school district shall 1. Adopt an integrated pest management program that incorporates the standards established by the department under this section. 2. Designate an integrated pest management coordinator for the district. And 3. Report to the department not later than the 90th day after the date the district designates or replaces an integrated pest management coordinator, the name, address, telephone number, and email address of the district's current coordinator. F. Each person who is designated as the integrated pest management coordinator for a school district shall successfully complete 6 hours of continuing education in integrated pest management every 3 years. G. The department shall inspect each school district at least once every 5 years for compliance with this section, and may conduct additional inspections based on a schedule of risk-based inspections using the following criteria. 1. Whether there has been a prior violation by the school district. 2. The inspection history of the school district. 3. Any history of complaints involving the school district. And 4. Any other factor determined by the department by rule. Congratulations, you have completed the course. Please proceed to the exam to receive your credit.